And in Heels is a motivational, inspirational, and educational podcast for women entrepreneurs. Let's learn from each other, laugh with each other, and support each other so we can all succeed together. And just remember, women can do anything, and in heels. Hello, and welcome to this episode of And in Heels. Morgan and I are so thrilled to welcome Melissa Gilbo, who is the CEO and co-founder of Women's Business League, a national networking community for women in business, and CEO and founder of Melissa Gilbo Consulting. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you so much. I am so honored and excited to be with the two of you. Thank you for having me.
We are so excited to have you here. So Morgan and I found this amazing community called Women's Business League. And lo and behold, they were creating a chapter in Tampa, St. Pete near us. And that has led us to meet you and get more involved in your organization. And we can't wait to learn more about you. Tell us about Melissa.
Yes, I'd love to. So first and foremost, I am Melissa Gilbo, mom
Yes.
to my two incredible boys. So that is the hat that I am most proud of wearing, and wife to my incredible husband, Todd, of over, I don't know, 20 years or so.
And
High school sweethearts. I mean, I could really go into the whole story, but so blessed to have been able to really be, wear those hats so strongly and proudly.
Yes.
And then I am CEO of Melissa Gilbo Consulting, but my entire passion, my entire heart, business wise, is with Women's Business League, and I'm a co-founder there. So yeah, I wear all the hats and I do all the things. And I'm so excited to talk more about that and how it is possible. It is possible to be successful and still really be present in your life in all of the things you're doing.
Oh, that's so refreshing. I cannot wait to hear more about your take on that and your examples. Like, I can't wait to dive in today.
So we know that you said you're a co-founder of obviously Women's Business League. So one of the first to found the organization, but again, it is all women. So what was your passion in first founding Women's Business League? So working with women, and then also second, you own another company, obviously with your name in it. So what was the passion behind both of those, individual roads,
Ooh, I love it. So I always say, our life is a journey, right? And you have to trust the journey, and it's not always a straight line. And I think, we're kind of taught that at a young age that, you got to check all the boxes and you go to high school and then you must go to college and do this. And I think I've just learned that life is not as straight as that is, right? But my path in the insurance industry, I built a career and a name in a very successful business in the insurance space, selling home and auto insurance as well as commercial. But that led me to more of my passion. And I knew that I wanted to help people. I've always known that. And I thought I was helping people through the insurance space, which I was.
In a different way. Yeah.
In a different way. But I always had that feeling that I was meant for more. And there was more that I could do in this world to serve and to help others. And it wasn't until I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but I had met my now co-founder, Amy, and we had met over coffee. So two perfect strangers that sat down and had a real honest conversation with one another. And again, our bosses connected us. So Amy was in mortgages and I was in insurance. And our bosses came to the two of us and said, hey, you two should really meet. They're probably want to take that back now.
This probably was not their goal. I'm just saying.
Yeah. But I remember thinking to myself, gosh, I'm so busy. I don't know. I don't think I have time. But I went, and thank goodness I did. Because it was over that honest conversation where we both shared how hard it was being working moms
Mm.
and building a business, becoming visible, building a brand, and really standing out and doing all the
Yeah.
things. So that led us to my passion of Women's Business League. So we, over that coffee, said, "Hey, let's meet again." And she
Wow.
brought in a couple people. I'm just going to say people. And I introduced her to some people. And we kept meeting like that for some time.
Okay.
And the magic started happening. And we were
Mhm.
showing up for one another around the table, not because we had to, but because we wanted to.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
we really started to
Mhm.
support one another, get to know one another, both personally and professionally. And that is the heart and the foundation of Women's Business League.
I
Um,
love that.
Mhm.
Love that.
yeah,
There are so many times, as a matter of fact, I did a talk today on networking at the next level. And, the biggest stigma I think around networking is not really building relationships. Walking in a
Mhm.
room awkwardly and shaking hands and meeting people and leaving feel like, what did I get out of that? That was a waste
Mhm.
of my time. And I feel like Women's Business League takes all that stigma away.
absolutely. So going back to my insurance career, I knew how powerful relationships were if done
Oh, that's the key,
Mhm.
that word right there.
right
Right?
with good intention. You have to
Yeah.
have good intention behind it. And it's powerful. So I really want to erase the whole
Mhm.
stigma behind the word networking because it
Yeah.
doesn't have to feel so heavy and awkward. I think a
Mhm.
lot of times you hear the word networking, you kind of cringe a little. Like
Yeah.
Morgan,
Oh, for
like you
sure.
kind
Mhm.
of like, oh, what do
Yeah.
I do?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, if somebody
Um,
says, "Do you wanna go to a networking event?" What's the first thing
you're
you're
like,
like,
you're like,
"Oh."
no,
Mhm.
no,
Yeah.
no, thank you.
Right.
Mhm.
But I
Yeah.
mean, we're here to redefine what it's like to network and what it feels like to network. So we're
Mhm.
rewriting the script, and it was over that conversation with Amy that we found out what had been missing all along. And I feel like the business always led, and the people were in the back. And we're like, no,
Mm.
no, no, we're here to rewrite this, and we're putting people first
Oh, I love
and
that.
the
Mhm.
business will come. So
Yeah.
we're about building relationships,
Mhm.
supporting one another.
Mhm.
It's the give and take, it's the mutual exchange of a relationship
Love that.
that
Mhm.
makes networking so incredibly valuable to building your business.
And
Mhm.
I think because of the intentionality behind it, because you make
Mhm.
it intentional, it doesn't
Mhm.
feel awkward when you walk in the room and you have to go up to a group of people you don't know that are already in a conversation and just
Mhm.
like awkwardly introduce yourself or join like Women's Business League just has this welcoming environment in which and any event that I've been to you just feel like, "Oh, I'm meant to be here."
Mhm.
It's such a refreshing feeling.
I love that. And it's
Yeah.
all about the feeling. And thank
Yeah.
you for saying that, Kelly. I mean, that really means a lot because
Mhm.
that is
Yeah.
a part.
Mhm.
Um, really want everybody to feel welcome, and it doesn't have to be so dry. We can
Right.
have fun. Like we can
Yes.
have fun building our businesses together.
Yes.
Um,
Mhm.
so it's
Yes.
that feeling of support and welcomeness. So thank you for that. And I'm
Yeah.
so excited that you're a member of Women's
Both
Business
of us.
League.
Yes, both of
I
us.
know you both are, and you get it. You
Yes.
understand.
Mhm.
We
Um,
do. We do. We want to expand it here in our market selfishly though. So anybody in St. Pete, Tampa area, even
I
we're
would
down here in Sarasota today recording. Anybody in these areas that wants to join just a really intentional women's
Mhm.
empowerment group of networking and building business, we'd love to have you because we need more women to support each other. The more of us, the more we can lift each other up.
Mhm.
Yay.
absolutely drop the mic, Kelly.
Mhm.
Woohoo!
So
Um,
so in all of your journey, right? You had some really defining moments where you had to make some decision cuz you said it in your first 2 minutes. First your mom, then your wife, then you're Melissa the amazing, co-founder of WBL and your coaching business. But before that, you have had a journey to get here. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, and I appreciate this conversation because I think, as we talked even prior,
Mhm.
a lot of the podcasts are about business and, you know, what is it? What is this and that? But it's really about the backstory, and
Mhm.
everybody has a story.
Mhm.
And if they don't, they're probably lying. Everybody has a
They're
story
not real.
that I know, right? That
Yes.
got to where they are today, and it's built their character and who
Mhm.
they are and how they represent themselves in the world. So I really sat with this and I think back to the first hard. Um, so this is getting into some of that inspiration. But I want to start with this quote. I'm
Mhm.
inspired by people who choose to shine even after all the storms they've been through. So
Mm.
I have a couple storms that really affected me in my childhood and in my adult life. One of those moments, as I think back, is when I was in kindergarten. I was what, 6 or 7 at that
Mhm.
time. And again, I was too little to understand what was going on. So I start by saying I was in my mom's hope chest and I pulled out this picture of this little girl who didn't have hair on the whole side of her head. It was shaved. And she had these cute little braided pigtails, one that was full and one that just had a couple whispers of
Mhm.
hair. And I remember saying, Mom, who is this? And what is this a picture of? And that's when she told me my story. And she's like, honey, that is you.
Mm.
I
Wow.
I had been diagnosed with something called Rise syndrome or Ray's syndrome. And this was very known in the 70s. So now I'm dating
Mhm.
myself, but in the 70s and early 80s,
Right.
uh, Rye syndrome is a deadly disease and it affects a lot of kids and they link it to aspirin.
Mm.
So what had happened
Wow.
is that I had had chicken pox or the flu or a fever. My parents gave me aspirin, which is what they did
What
back
you
there,
do, yeah.
baby aspirin, and I had a severe reaction to it, which
Mm.
led to
Wow.
swelling of the brain and the liver. And I was actually just reading a stat on this earlier, but
Wow.
many don't survive. So
Mm.
it's a deadly
Wow.
syndrome. And I had been flown to Boston Children's Hospital. I live here in Massachusetts,
Wow.
and Boston Children's Hospital is a top notch hospital. Thank goodness,
Mhm.
you know, close enough to go. But long story short is that I was in a coma. They put me in a
Mm.
induced coma in an ice bath to really take all the swelling down. And I was in that coma state for over a month in the hospital.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
and they had told me that, most kids don't survive. And if they do, they're going to come out with brain damage. You're going to have
Mhm.
to teach your daughter how to walk, talk, read, all of it. I was going to have to
Mhm.
start completely over. And, I have no recollection of this. I really don't. And
Wow.
it's
Just
my
like the
parents.
memory's gone. Yeah.
Yeah, it's my
Wow.
parents' words and they're telling me my
Right.
story. But the only thing I do remember out of that whole time is that there was this little record player playing, the 45s
Mhm. Oh, yes.
records and
Yes.
this little book. And it was the little engine that could. And
Mm.
it kept saying, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. And I woke up from my coma with that playing and I
Aw.
was 100% fine.
Aw,
Wow.
that's
Yeah.
incredible.
Wow. That's an incredible story, but it
Mhm.
doesn't end there. Then you had another
Yeah.
life-altering moment.
I did. So, fast forward to me and my boys. I have 2 boys,
Yeah.
a family of my
Mhm.
own. And, I think back to that picture and I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot even imagine being a parent
Right.
and having your child be so sick.
Yeah.
And then I as a parent, had that same situation happen to one of my kids. So my
Wow.
youngest he was in second grade at the time. He ended up getting diagnosed with a rare disease called PANDAS,
Okay.
PANDAS.
Okay.
Now, this was 10 years ago, so there wasn't much information out in the community or on the Google or wherever about this. And it stands for pediatric autoimmune neuropsych disorder associated with stress. So PANDAS. But to make a long story short, he lost 3 to 4 years of his childhood. Because he ended up experiencing severe OCD anxiety, separation anxiety from strep infection.
Wow.
So the strep infection created the behavior. And a lot of people don't believe that. A lot of doctors don't believe. So it was quite a journey to get him to a medical facility that could take care of him. And Mass General Hospital here in Boston ended up taking really great care of him. We built a team of doctors around him.
Wow.
And he ended up on 2 years of antibiotics and healed. He was able to heal from everything that was going on. At that moment, it was like a mental road or a health road. And a lot of folks were like, oh gosh, he needs to be in a mental institution. He needs drugs and this. And thank God I trusted my intuition and my gut, and we went the health journey, and he ended up healing 100%. And he's now a senior at Georgetown High School, captain of the baseball team. He is just thriving from that time. So, we are fighters, and I was a fighter from that small age.
Right.
We're hard workers. So all of that hard turned into who we are today. So we didn't let the hard harden us.
Yes. Yes.
We took the hard and became more from that. So if I have goosebumps and I'm on the verge of crying, but if our listeners here today can take one thing away inspirationally, is that don't let the hard harden you.
Yeah. And thank goodness you listened to your intuition and didn't let them, just treat your son as a psych patient that was never going to get better without, and thank goodness you found a path and a team to support you in
Yes.
going down that journey. I mean, my goodness. And I believe tied in there somewhere, was that when you made the decision to say, okay, I'm now gonna make a change in my life? Is that how those tie in a little bit, if I remember right?
Yeah. So here's another kind of wisdom of a nugget here that I'll throw out is that when I was going through that with my son, I was closed. I was not open at all to
For good
receive
reason, right?
for good reasons, right? We
Yeah.
all go through seasons in our life. So it was actually right after that, when I knew that my son was on the other side, that I actually met Amy, and I was open to meeting her and having conversations. But if I had met her even 6 months prior, I probably wouldn't have been open for it. So you do need to have that realization of opportunities that come your way, and you need to know when to be open and when not to be open. But so it was shortly after that I met Amy. We started Women's Business League. A year after that, I left my career. I made another decision that was so hard.
That's a leap of faith. That is a leap of faith.
I had built an incredible career in the insurance space. And I remember I came home and I told my husband, I'm like, I quit. He's like, wait, what? And I'm like, I don't ever want to look back and say, what could that have been? And I could have always gone back to my insurance profession. So I wanted to give it a try. This was my passion.
Yeah.
And I knew it was my passion because I was spending more time on my side business than my full-time career.
Yeah.
And then when I finally made the leap to leave, I looked back and I realized that I had already left my career. I just didn't know it at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Boy,
amazing.
and in that moment too, let's reflect on that just a minute, because we did a podcast recently with someone that is now a very accomplished kind of clarity and life coach. But her original path was to be a hospice social worker. And she
Mm.
said in her interviews or in her time with families in those final days, the patients so often said,
Mm-hmm.
I wish I would have.
Mm.
And she said in her life now, she's made it a mission not to ever get to those final days saying, I wish I would have tried that, left my job sooner,
Mm-hmm.
followed my passion, traveled, whatever those I wish I would have were. But so many times as women, and thank goodness you took the leap of faith and you listened to your heart and you met Amy at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's those moments that where magic happen or it dies. And it's only us that can determine that.
Mm-hmm.
And thank
That's
goodness you made the decision you did. Because Women's Business League is a blessing for all of us professional women. And I'm sure it has allowed you to fulfill a purpose and a passion that you were not able to fill in your other career path. Also successful and relatively, enjoyable for the time you were there. When it was time to move on, you got to sometimes listen to ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that. It's so important. And I'm kind of feeling like this whole conversation is about your intuition, right? You're
Yes.
trusting what comes up for you. Only you know what you know, right? And what's
Yeah.
right for you. And that led me even further along in my journey, in my passion of helping other women or men or business owners, entrepreneurs through Melissa Gilbo Consulting.
Yes.
I had been doing it all along as I love working in the how. More action, less talk. I like getting stuff done. I run a tight ship.
Yeah.
And I've just been finding that my passion does lie in helping others achieve what they are trying to achieve, like get to their next level, their next goal. So through Women's Business League and through my consulting business, I am just, I've never looked back. I couldn't even imagine going backwards. So I'm here for it.
Love that. Love
That's
that.
amazing. All right. So I know that you've obviously expressed a lot on your plate of just, again, these businesses and just life in general. But what do you do to stay educated personally, professionally, or a mixture of both? If you read or you listen to podcasts, everybody has their thing. So what do you like to do?
So podcasts are my go-to for sure. 100%. I love this one. So this one's right up on my pinned list for podcast listening. But I do love to acquire knowledge, and the way that I do learn and acquire knowledge is through the act of doing. I'm very visual. I love being hands-on and learning. We can figure things out on our own. You just got to give it a try, right? So don't let tech or knowledge stop you in any way. And we love to share knowledge. So a part of Women's Business League, we have built in incredible educational components that our members get, because Kelly and Morgan, as we know, like when we're out on our own and solopreneurs, we have no professional development days that we used to, right? So we want to extend our knowledge outward into the community. So we offer power hours and accelerators. Amy and I do a lot internally with our members. I actually have a couple educational nuggets that I can share with the viewers if you guys want in terms of
Please, yes.
networking.
Yes.
So one of them that we absolutely live by is coffee dating.
Talk about that for those that aren't in a organized networking group and may not know what that means. What does that mean? Because I love
It
this.
does, yeah, it doesn't even have to be for profession. It could be personal as well. So I always say, don't ever become too busy that you stop meeting people.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Love
So
that. Yes.
people do business with people, and networks are very, very powerful, both in your personal life and your professional life. A lot of people land jobs just through people they know versus on, so taking time on your calendar to purposefully block off a couple hours each week to have coffee dates. So whether it's in person, on Zoom, Kelly and I have done a couple of them ourselves.
Yeah.
My goal for me personally is 3 a week. So I intentionally block off Friday mornings to meet 3 new people every single week.
Oh, that's a great goal.
So I
Now,
would love for our viewers
talk a little bit about the
do that.
format of that coffee date. Like, what do you try to accomplish during that? Because I think saying you're going to meet for a coffee date is one thing, but then what do you get out of it? Like, what do you take away from that?
So these are so important. Again, they're intentional. So when you are together, it's a mutual exchange. So it's that give and receive. How can I help you? And I want you to get really good at saying, here's how you can help me. So there is a power in asking. And I really want your ask to be very specific, even goal aligned specific ask. So one of my asks this year, I had a goal of growth, but then the micro goal is visibility. And then it's 3 podcasts a quarter.
Nice.
So my ask when I would be with some folks that I'm meeting or coffee dating would be, hey, could you introduce me to somebody that you know that hosts a podcast?
Nice. Okay. So be specific about what you're looking for, right?
So they help me achieve my goal of visibility and growth by simply asking to be introduced to somebody that hosts a podcast.
Love that. Yeah.
And the other thing that is very, very important, we call it give 30.
Okay.
So you have your time to coffee date, but you also have to do the work. So, if someone asks you for something, you have to deliver on that. So give 30 is blocking off 30 minutes on your calendar to give. So it's to give back to those who you've just met. Maybe it's giving, a resource, an article, a connection. It could be as simple as writing a review for somebody.
Absolutely. That's a great
Right?
idea. Right.
So if you give 30 minutes of your time every single week to others, it's going to be a game changer for you. You're going to become memorable, top of mind.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
So
yes.
if you could incorporate coffee dating, specific ask, and a give 30 into your week, it's going to change the way you do business.
I know one of the things that I do in my coffee dates, if I can find any way to serve them, and that's hard to do, right? Somebody go, well, how do you serve everyone? There's always something. Again, even if it's, can I give you a Facebook review? Can I give you a Google review?
Yeah.
You're looking for an introduction to a whatever. I know someone. It doesn't have to be business necessarily. It's just some kind of asset to their world, whether it's a piece of, or I have this book I've been reading. It sounds like it matches the obstacles or challenges you're going through right now. Can I share that with you? Even if it's just that, but always, there's always some way I can serve the person I'm talking to, even if it's in a small way. There's always a way. I always find a way when I leave a conversation.
Absolutely. And that's how you become memorable and top of mind. And then you become a resource
Yeah.
for them. So this is relationship building, right?
Love that. And I wrote that down. It's all about the relationships, right? So we can network all we want, we can shake hands all we want, but if it stays at that level, it's not going to do any good. It's when you get to those moments where you really get to know each other and you get to exchange. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your business. What are you looking for right now? What are your goals? How can I help you? How can I assist you? And then they tell you the same thing. And then you consciously listen to each other and find ways to serve each other. That's where the magic happens.
That is where the magic happens.
And I
Absolutely.
love that. And I love that that's an essential part of Women's Business League, because that to me is what sets it aside from just a superficial networking organization.
That's right. That's right. There's some intentionality behind it.
Love
And Amy
that.
and I do a lot in terms of educating
And accountability too, right? I think it adds a little of accountability. And sometimes we all need that because, as you said, we get busy. So the more we are accountable and we have something to measure or remind us, oh, I was supposed to do that. Or, oh, I met with Morgan and she needed this. Oh my gosh, I have that. Let me email her. And again, it doesn't have to be big. It can be just something small and thoughtful, but listen more than you talk. That's one of the things. So Melissa, we are out of time. How did that happen? But I want you are such an incredible human. And I know this is the first of many times we're going to get to talk on the podcast, but please share with our listeners today just a nugget of knowledge, a nugget of wisdom, a nugget of motivation, whatever it is that you want them to remember you by today. And, when they're get to the end of the podcast to hear this. But Melissa, what are those words? What do you want to say?
I guess you absolutely have control over how you show up in this world. Right? So when you walk in a room, walk in with confidence, your head held high. You have the control over who you surround yourself with. So make sure you are surrounding yourself with people that are going to lift you and propel you forward. Community is so incredibly important. So I think that's what I want to leave our listeners with today is you absolutely have control. You are the CEO of your life.
I love that.
That's amazing.
It is.
Awesome.
So incredible. Thank you, Melissa, for
Thank you
being
very
on
much.
today. We cannot wait till the next time we get to be at the Women's Business Leagues all together in whichever market we get to be in together. But we can't wait to see you in person and continue on this conversation in future episodes.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun, and you two are phenomenal. Thank you.
Thank you. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. And just remember, women can do anything and in heels.